Right, we're gonna come to order. Monica, can you have the roll?
Yeah. Which is what, yeah. Not visible to where if anybody comes in, I can see them. When I call your name, please let me know if you are here. Yes. Here we go. Amanda Archer. Ashley Hathaway. Live post. Big thing.
Present.
And then here. Joanne Brewer.
Here.
Wendell Olson.
Here.
Judy Albert.
Present.
Camille Leggett is not able to attend. She called me. She's got something. Chris Martinez.
Here.
Teresa DeSimone.
Here.
Paul Davis.
Here.
We have a quorum meeting.
Oh, barely.
We have it. It's
Good
second.
for
We
us.
got one extra. Should.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Veronica. Any public comment on non-agendized items? All right, this is a special meeting. We're here to talk about funding. Veronica, can you, go ahead?
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. So Paul agreed to call this meeting. Some changes that have happened with the Continuum of Care 2025 Notice of Funding Availability. Notice of Funding Opportunity, excuse me, NOFO. The NOFO was released November 13th-ish. We got a local Notice of Funding Availability out with a timeline that originally had applications due today for the COC ad hoc committee to review, rate and rank, and then make a recommendation to HUD on funding. On December 8th, 1 hour before the start of a hearing in which the National Alliance to End Homelessness and other entities had filed a lawsuit against HUD because of the massive changes the NOFO was instituting, and I can talk more about those if folks have questions, but we've kind of rehashed them a lot. So the lawsuit was over that. And so the lawsuit was before a judge, and 1 hour before the start of that hearing, HUD withdrew the NOFO. There's a notice on their website that states that they withdrew it and that they have the intent of re-releasing the NOFO with revisions before the congressionally required 2025 appropriations deadline, which is September 30th, 2027.
Wow.
And so HUD has until today to December 30th, 2027 to get the NOFO out and completed.
2027?
2027.
Veronica, if they just take their time, what happens to places like the CDC that
So
will run out of their money during that time?
there are places that their contracts start 1/1
So what's
across the nation.
gonna happen with
For
that?
us, CDC's contract starts 7/1 of each year. And if those contracts are not renewed, there's going to be a gap in funding. And it's up to each COC or nonprofit to figure out what to do locally in that situation. We're on our own.
So if I'm remembering though, the last time it was a 2 or 3 year contract, it was a 2 year?
Last year, it was a 2-year
Did they
competition.
rescind that second year?
So HUD has always given itself the option to release a 2025 NOFO, even the 24-25. they were gonna release a new one just so in case they got new funding, or if there were some funds that were reallocated, it allowed COCs to move their funding. But if you were just gonna renew, it was fine, and you were just gonna get your renewal funding and move on to the 2026. But HUD has announced they don't want to do that. And the only way that they could go that route that you've mentioned is if Congress puts into legislation requirements of HUD to renew the existing renewal contracts to get through to the next funding cycle. So that is through a transportation/HUD congressional, I don't even know, end group that makes recommendations. It's a minibus piece of legislation. It has to be passed by January 30th. So next month. So that's one way that Congress could force HUD to do it. They could also force HUD to do it in their next funding renewal, but that's still going to create gaps across the nation. It wouldn't create gaps for us if it was successful. So what I called this meeting for is we need to discuss and decide what we're going to do with our local competition. I wrote up a staff report that's included with your agenda. If you haven't read it, I recommend that you take a look at it. I basically reviewed everything that's on page 1 of the report just now. The exact language from the HUD website is included in this report. It's the indented paragraph. And so I've been following what other continuums of care, both in California, regionally, and across the nation are doing, and it's a mixed bag. There's really 3 options that I've seen folks take, but if anybody has ideas, please bring them up. The first one is to continue with the competition as it is with no changes. Have the applications due. The only issue with that is we don't have access to eSnaps and we don't know what that application is going to look like. And those applications would be in line with the existing NOFO, which we know is going to be revised. So if changes are made, those applications are going to be null. We could continue the local competition with changes. I did make one change where I extended the timeline with permission from the ad hoc funding recommendation team. We gave it an extra 2 weeks because we just needed breathing room. I wanted to give potential applicants an opportunity to breathe and wait till we came together here to figure out what we're going to do. So applications are technically still due December 31st, 2025 locally as of right this moment. So we can make changes and keep it going. We could pause the local competition waiting for HUD to re-release it. We would have to restart the process once it releases the NOFO. But we wouldn't have to, like, we've already noticed it. We've already done some of those steps that we've accomplished. So we could just pause it and then just continue on from where we are now in the future. And then the third option is to cancel the local competition and wait for HUD to re-release the NOFO and then just do a new local competition. Option 1 puts the onus on the applicants to come up with stuff without guidance from HUD. Option 2 puts the onus on COC staff, me, to document every change that we make along the way. And when we do the new local policies, they're going to have to be track changed and it's going to be very messy. Option 3 is the cleanest, but it's the riskiest. Because if HUD releases it between now and January 14th, which is the original due time, we won't be eligible because we've canceled our competition.
Because we have to give applicants 30 days before the deadline to turn it in.
Yes.
You don't think they would give that?
No.
They could, there are theories, and National Alliance warned us that they could really re-release it with the original timeline expectations at any point.
We've had
Well,
grants
let's not
that-
do that.
We've had grants that all has months, we got 2 days.
So that's up
So,
to three.
but they couldn't, if they require 30 days, don't they require 30 days?
It's in the NOFO that they said that COC's local timelines had to have project applications due to the COC no later than 30 days before HUD's due date.
That was that was the NOFO they just rescinded though, so they could keep the deadline of January 14th, re-release it and say something like 5 days.
Right. I don't think they would legally be allowed to do that because I think they have to give us at least 60 days, but I don't know those ins and outs. I'm not that familiar with the processes, and most of the time it's just each NOFO states what it is.
So there's basically like a really high level power struggle going on between the administration who wants to do this aggressive change and some advocacy organizations and states who are suing them to prevent this aggressive change. And neither
Congress.
side is bending.
Right, and Congress, who could tell HUD what to do, but they're choosing to kind of hands off. And even like there was a letter from 20 Republican representatives to HUD asking them, please don't do this to our permanent housing. And they completely ignored it. So unless Congress passes something forcing HUD's hand, this is what we're left up with.
So, but in the insert that you gave in terms of the reason for them withdrawing the no-flow update, it sounds like either they have an additional priority it's going to be included or additional funding. That what they're saying, this youth homelessness demonstration.
So YHDP is a subset of the COC program. It's kind of like an offshoot of the HEARTH Act that HUD added, that Congress added. So it's like, here's the COC program, but COCs, we're going to tack on this little funding right over here. And so there's no new YHDP. So unless you're a
Already
COC
doing
that already has it, you can completely ignore anything about YHDP.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're using this as a little loophole.
Yeah.
We were given authority to pause. We were given authorities to make changes to the NOFO for these little reasons. They could toss in some tiny little funding source in there and then say that's why they are not processing renewals.
So their reason is to make appropriate revisions to the NOFO, and the department intends to do so. So they got a lot of negative feedback, and that's their reasoning for withdrawing it.
Well, I also think they probably want to change some to make it more lawsuit proof, right? There's probably some
Exactly.
places they saw.
That's what it
is, and they were gonna clean it up.
There's a big push because it requires projects abandon utilization of housing first. And that's such a major policy change that it has to be publicly noticed. It has to be, gone through proper process.
Yeah, I think
channels.
that's part of their statute definition.
Mhm. And so that was part of the biggest part of the lawsuit. My concern is they're just gonna re-release it or renew it or whatever, and then take the proper steps to do that for the next contract. But at least we would have a stopgap in the meantime.
But doesn't withdrawn mean withdrawn?
This is federal
Then
government.
Something comes out in the next few weeks that has been
Cleaned up.
something new. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What I'm hearing today is that it's open, not open.
It's not open, but could be re-released
With
or
any
an
kind of timeline.
With no expectation of, but to be able to say, Sorry, but you should have already notified everything, the 30 days. You don't get a new 30 days.
It's a possibility.
So Veronica, it feels like option one and option two are similar, but you're being very careful there. That option one would protect our timelines. And we kind of, if the board chose the with changes concept, they meet our deadlines by submitting a letter of intent rather than asking people to submit an application
Right.
when they don't have any of the documents to fill out.
Right.
Which seems really unfair. They'd have to basically do two applications, make up kind of a fake one for us, and then they don't even know what they have to submit to HUD yet.
Yes.
Because originally, we were gonna have them prepare basically their HUD application a month early, so they came to us a month early, and it would be hard, but possible.
Right.
But now we don't even know what to ask them to prepare, because none of the like narrative documents, none of their, they've not been given any direction.
Right.
On how to prepare their application.
So continuing with the local competition to where with changes, where we say instead of submitting this big packet
That we can't even tell you what
that I don't even know if it's gonna change. How about instead you prepare this letter of intent, which is actually a very common process larger COCs use, so that they can start working with those potential applicants early in the process about, this is how you submit it, or if you have any question, things like that. And so it would completely be within practice norms to do a letter of intent with and once HUD re-releases this NOFO, more details will come. And we can also entertain more new project applications, even if they didn't do a letter of intent. So that way, we're not discriminating against anyone who hears about it last minute, or they don't release it for 9 months and things completely change.
My feeling about the letter of intent is this, is that if you don't have a HUD application in front of you, then you cannot really provide adequate or accurate supports to any letters of intent. And so basically you're just asking people, hey, do you intend on applying? That's all.
That's it.
That's it.
It's a
So
placeholder.
that's, a paragraph, we do intend on applying, but even then, that doesn't provide any value at all. You just kind of get an idea of how many applicants might apply.
It's not like even close to binding.
No, not at all.
But it would give some information. Isn't such little information that's not that useful enough for the board, or?
I think it's good to gauge the interest in the community, because this isn't the only source of funding that we have. And if projects are out there considering doing something, probably want to know.
But isn't the local notice based on this NOFO?
Yes.
It is, but we can update it to remove a ton of stuff,
It's so changed.
change the local application to a letter of intent, and then
Based on what NOFO?
It'd have to be based on the withdrawn NOFO, right?
it would be a letter of intent to apply for fiscal year 2025 COC funds, not respond to the fiscal year 2025 NOFO. It would be, I'm interested in receiving some of these funds.
But that's like super big. I'm not sure that would be.
That's what like LASA does. They do
But
a letter of
I guess
intent
if-
that's very basic,
If the
they did it in
administration-
July.
If we take them at their word, they're saying we temporarily withdrew, but we're committed to this framework. That's kind of what they're saying right now. So it feels like a letter of intent should be based on this framework that they've not withdrawn their mission.
I would think that anybody who has any intention of applying gets their materials together that kind of align with the existing framework. So do your work, and then your your work won't be so great when it is eventually released, because you'll have a thumbnail sketch of what it is you're going to apply for, and you can just make amendments to it.
And if what gets released is so radically different, we could cancel at that time and just start over again. We still could do
Notify
that.
projects that wouldn't be eligible under the new framework
That's a risk.
and say, I'm sorry, you're not eligible under the new framework. Sorry, have a nice day. You can apply for other funding.
Or we just cancel at that moment. We switched, if the board decided to do option one with changes, so we're saying, pretend nothing's been withdrawn. We think this still is. Is anyone interested maybe in applying by December 31st? Then if things are so radically different, we would just say, we cancel the whole thing. We're starting all over again. And those same people may or may not want to apply, but depending on what it looks like. Because what option one does is it protects it, like worst case scenario, they release this like January 3rd and say it's due January 20th. And which could be what they do. They could just tighten up some language that they think was legally questionable and re-release the same old thing.
One thing I want to note is we've kind of made a big deal out of the timeline and making sure that it's 30 days before HUD's due date. I just want to point out, under option one with changes, the con, our COC may not be eligible for points under the section that says, you know, that it assigns points to every single project category that's in the application. And that specific section is worth 2 of 130 points. So if we don't keep our timeline in with the 30 days, it's up to 2 points
That we could miss.
that we would lose. But it's that section worth 2 points has 4 areas. So it's like maybe 1 point we would lose. Maybe half a point. I don't know, anywhere from half a point to 2 points.
That's not much of a con.
It's not, I think, yeah.
Isn't that same risk in all of them?
Not in one. One, we keep it. And it
One
keeps
without
the timeline, one without changes would keep it within.
But the risk is on the other side because you've got an active NOFA for a NOFA that's been withdrawn. So I mean,
Exactly.
somebody at the local level could argue that your NOFA is invalid.
Right. It feels invalid. It's linking
Well,
to something that
It is
isn't.
invalid.
Right.
I mean, you're asking people to apply for funding that
It's not.
was withdrawn. So
Right.
It's true.
it'd be like saying, tell me how many hamburgers you want, but we're not, there's no
You don't
hamburgers.
get to eat them.
We're gonna make chicken sandwiches instead. So
I don't know what we're gonna make, but tell us about your hamburgers.
That's
I don't know how valid a NOFA is for a NOFA that's been withdrawn. Like they could fall in an argument in a legal case. It's not even valid.
Right, it's true.
We could withdraw the local NOFA.
Withdraw.
It's a cancel, we can withdraw.
And you would only be losing like 1 point.
2 max.
2.
That's under
that a
the
big deal?
current, that's under the current,
Right.
it's now gone, canceled, so
Everybody's facing.
it could be
that.
100 points.
Yeah. it's true.
Everybody is facing that same conundrum. And so I just think that it's not probably something we want to put energy
Yeah,
into.
chasing the 2 points probably is
Is not something we want to put energy into. I mean, what I want to hear from this is from a party who's applied for this before and was going to apply for it. And what are your feelings about the 3 options?
I mean, as far as CDC's concerned, because obviously we're applying for it, our responses to the local NOFA are pretty much completed right now because it originally.
It's a
was due
template. You
today.
just do this.
So I'm just
Really
holding
ready.
off and gonna like modify that based on what HUD releases. So
You're prepared no matter what.
yeah,
Okay.
and we're just gonna hold until we know
What I
they're
wanted to
going
hear was that you had your game shoes.
So
on,
for
you
us,
have your
it-
game shoes on and be ready. to
Neither
roll.
one of these matters, you know, as far as we're concerned.
Because your goal is preserving as much as you possibly can.
Right,
of the
we're
PSH
applying
program.
for everything that. And we're ready to do that and have everything ready to go.
How do you feel about the 2 points?
I don't know that side of things. points. So how important are the 2 points? And is that even legal for them to
Everybody's
do?
in the
I mean,
same
that just
situation, so if we
doesn't
lose the 2 points,
Right.
everybody else is gonna lose the 2 points too.
Everyone's
So
losing the
even
2
little
points.
the playing field.
Right, and
That's
I
the
do
one
people that kept their local competition going. There are
But then you
COCs that
could,
are.
then you could argue that they kept a local competition going on and NOFA that was withdrawn, so. the
Yeah.
points
Yeah,
would be-
it's true. It's pretty risky to keep it
That's,
going too.
that's kind of how I think about it.
Yeah, you can play the game, but you guys think legal, they don't care about it.
No.
They just throw whatever spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. They could care less. I know I deal with them every single day on 5 programs. They don't care.
And I do want to point out that the CDC is trying to preserve everything in tier 1, which they don't have to meet the merit criteria, just like the project is acceptable. So this 1 or 2 points is not as relevant to them. I mean,
new projects.
it's for the PSH preservation, since it was all in tier 1, they have to meet the requirements of, I mean, that's how the NOPA is written right now.
Right.
But they're not, for that paltry amount, they're not necessarily competing with.
The tier 1 is a guaranteed amount for every COC. And the COC gets to decide how they reuse it, but it has to be, it doesn't have to be renewal funds, but most of the time it is because you want to preserve.
And certainly in this context, it would make, yeah.
And one of the things that the now withdrawn NOFO clarified or made not very clear, but that it's clear as mud. That any funds the COC reallocates are also not subject to the merit review. So under that, you can't do more than 30%. The COC could only had to reallocate 70% of CDC's grant, their award. And so that's reallocated funds, not new funds. So the difference between, so the annual renewal demand, the 2.2 million, minus CDC's 665,000, minus the COC bonus and the DV bonus, it's like exactly half is what the COC reallocated for new projects because HUD 4-star hand. So that was $1 million not subject.
But that's what's being challenged in court.
Right.
And that, so that might really change that. And I wouldn't be surprised if they pull another kind of thing that's very restrictive and damaging to the CDC, that there'll be another suit in court.
Well,
Don't
this
you
could go
think?
on for a long time.
This could go on for a long time.
Yeah.
So National Alliance did say that even though HUD withdrew the NOFO, the lawsuit can still proceed because it was still suggested. And the next hearing is on December 19th.
Mhm.
And it's through the Rhode Island U.S. District Court.
Stream it on YouTube.
You can.
September 19th. September 19th, Thursday.
So, historically, a long time ago, the county used to apply directly to the COC program. Yes, SHP, and then subcontracted like day shelter and transitional housing funds to Ukiah Community Center, Ford Street Project, and Mendocino Coast Hospitality Center. So we've asked CDC is the current recipient, but those two folks do have experience with HUD grants as well. So I just wanted you guys to know that and see if you wanted any specific feedback from them. Jackie and Paul.
If Jack and Paul can remember back that far. It was a while ago, but you know, I guess my position is we're gonna have to be willing to compromise and maybe get outside our comfort zone and do all sorts of things we choose not to do. I mean, this is really a level of uncertainty that, you know, I'm just looking at our shelter program. We will have lost $100,000 on the shelter program this year. And when you run a shelter program, if we, for some reason, end up not funded, I'm full. I have all those families that I'm not going to say, bye, we lost our funding. We will have to, double our efforts to find them housing. So it's,
Which is gonna make it difficult.
exactly. And so I feel like this is enormously challenging. Oh.
Well, as a transitional housing operator and being in the position that we're in, I just want to think of ways that project help somehow. I mean, if the money is there. But I don't know what that looks like.
It seemed like this NOFO that they released was saying they wanted money to go to transitional housing. I don't know if anybody is planning on
Right.
applying for that, but it seems like that's what they wanted to go to.
Additional to what? That's the problem.
Homelessness.
Well, they give all these points for being, I mean, it just seems really ambitious on their part, transitional housing to full self-sufficiency.
Right, that's what
Like, that you're, during your transitional housing, their vision is that you get completely sober and you
get a job.
That's a need, and you get a job that is so good that you support your rent in whatever community you're living
in 2 years.
in 2 years.
Yeah, and
It's a lot to ask people, but
just we have people turn that fast. But the cost of housing and the lack of housing is the pitfall, not so much that people weren't able to get their life together and find work. I mean, that's the scary part. This is a
Right.
self-inflicted one.
And the other thing that you guys haven't talked about is the mandated provision for treatment.
totally.
Yeah,
Because that's gonna basically preclude the PSH vouchers with any other federally funded housing, because you can't mandate that kind of stuff. So like under the current LIHTC rules, home rules, HUD rules, USDA rules, you can't mandate treatment. Right? It's self-selection. So
Even if some judges think they can.
it basically
That's
doesn't
fine.
include the vouchers from being used for the housing.
Also, it's a tremendous amount of staff time to monitor that you're doing 40 hours of supportive services and that you're engaging. I mean, like, so there's an enormous amount of case management expectations here as well. I mean, and then there's so much uncertainty about this. I don't.
Enforcement.
Exactly, right. So then they don't, let's say somebody doesn't do it. And you don't evict them. Is anyone gonna come check?
and the mandated part was on the transitional housing, not on
No, it is every
on permanent
project.
housing.
Permanent housing.
Mandated.
Outreach.
Well, it was buried in the new one. That may have been part of that got pulled, but it was buried in there. It's like, yeah, that's not.
And it was 40
You
hours
can't
of
do
services
that according to the regulations.
Some
So
of the
what
regulations.
do they want?
Yes, it was 40 hours. of
They had, every provider
But you could.
under a new project has to ensure that every client is engaged in 40 hours of work every single week. And they can count offsite stuff like meetings or therapy or anything, but what about your transportation time from your therapist to back to the transitional
How many
housing?
staff are they employing per person?
What you want?
Serious, right?
It is.
And you only get 30% of your
You're-
budget.
And tracking of some of that stuff then turns their services client file into a.
Yep.
That's true.
Yep.
I think if
Good
it's,
times, right?
Veronica helped me understand that there are some programs out there, I think like Salvation Army, so there's that provide housing with work. It's all a big, huge package deal.
Yeah.
And that's who this is designed.
That would,
So there's existing kind of programs that already do this kind of program.
if we were to try and replicate that amongst our little continuum here, we would have 2,200 people at the food bank from all of your programs working. It's so sad. It's great. Oh, where did it go? Yeah, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. I mean, that's the biologic part.
Right.
Well, we still don't have childcare for all of
Oh
them
my God.
Yeah.
who have children who can't go.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, there's a question that on the table, right?
What do you wanna do? Continue it, make changes, pause it, cancel it?
Which one sounds the best? Which one sounds? Which one would be the best for us? Pause?
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, absolutely. Everybody on mine? Sure.
It's not officially public comment until we actually have a motion on the table, but I know that our nutmeg folks are here, and I just wanted to give an opportunity. Russ, Drew, Tashika, anybody want to add? Amy, anything to add or questions?
So this is Russ. I don't necessarily have any questions. This is, uh, it's not an easy decision for Mendocino County or any of the communities across the country right now. So, we'll be able to, we're prepared to support the community with whatever decision gets made and provide as much, whether it's data, or other types of support, will be here for you. So, no, it's just yeah, unfortunately, there's no silver bullet that we see either.
Do you guys know?
That.
Oh, sorry, Tashika, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I second that, and I think your question was about what's happening in Connecticut. Russ, of course, feel free to add if I leave out anything. But similar meetings and conversations are happening, right? Where folks are trying to gear up to, of course, deal with the transition wherever possible. I know right now we're actually assisting by trying to provide data in regards to the different types of households. So folks are, keeping that into consideration when transitioning different clients into or out of services if they have to do that. And making sure like not the most vulnerable people aren't, displaced. Of course, wherever that can be helped, but there's a lot of institutions. So that's what I said. There's no kind of a silver bullet, so to speak, to solve the problem.
Thank you. I wanted to share that Nutmeg did help us, Teresa's request with understanding a lot of information and demographics and such about our current PSH participants. And so that's something they've done to support us. And there's an ad hoc that's looking at that. And if this does go forward, how do we deal with that?
So, Veronica, if this board chose option 2, pausing, it would look like you'd leave the timeline on the website with like to be determined for all the deadlines. So which if anything, with no deadlines on anything
To be determined.
And we'd probably say, is the language we use pause? Because I'm kind of noticing what Dan's saying in that having an active NOFA referencing a NOFA that has been withdrawn. I mean, I'm wondering if we mirror their language.
That's what
So pausing would be like
withdrawing
for the time being.
Rare.
Temporarily withdrawing.
That's the safest thing to do.
Temporarily withdraw.
Use their language.
Well, and then if you listen to what Teresa's saying, she's got her application ready.
I had a feeling.
So it sounds like I would assume other people who are going to be applying for the NOFA also are in a similar situation, so that they could respond rapidly once the changes are.
We can't temporarily withdraw. Sounds such a strange way to say it, but temporarily withdraw and ask for a letter of intent. Is that too like?
I think we withdraw or we continue with a letter of intent.
Okay.
One of the two.
I originally liked the letter of intent idea, but Joanna's right. If it radically changes, the letter of intent could become moot.
I just think you're
it's not
safer
much
to
of a placeholder.
You're safer as a county if you just follow their language. And people be prepared. This
So,
happened before one time when I was at the youth project with a federal grant. You know, same thing. I was like you though, I was ready. And so when it dropped,
so we temporarily withdrew. We just temporarily withdrew. And maybe the board could authorize staff, maybe with the chair's approval, to restart it if
Since notifications.
as soon as notification happens, if something, as long as nothing substantial changed, right? Like if they just kind of reissue it with some cleanup language, we would just reissue it again, right?
So I'd like to retain the current ad hoc funding recommendation. And that way I can go straight to them the moment it hits and I can be like, hey, this is, you know, we need to meet immediately and come up with a recommendation to the board, and we might even have to call another special meeting if the timeline is super short. Okay. But if we can keep the current ad hoc, either pause or withdraw the current NOFA. And then re-release it as soon as HUD makes the new document available. And I can work with the ad hoc to make sure we get the language correct. So I'll draft it and send it to them. And then we can work on it. But I want it to mirror part of this HUD update from their website. But some of it we don't need to have, like it doesn't apply, like the YHDP language or like in the previous NOFO. I don't think we need to reference that kind of
No,
stuff.
so you would say something like the COC has withdrawn a notice of funding opportunity with respect to the consumer care program.
Has withdrawn its fiscal year 2025 NOFA, COC NOFA.
With
The
respect to that.
withdraw is in response to HUD's withdrawal.
Right, corresponding.
So they could make revisions to the NOFA. And then I don't have to put that,
Right, so you'll kind of use this as a
HUD
very
states
loose
it
template.
intends to exercise its discretion to make changes to the previous release NOFA for new priorities. And as soon as that is made available, this NOFA local NOFA process will be restarted in alignment with that.
So which one is that, option 2 or 3?
I think that's option 2, but we're just changing the language a little bit to
No, it's
withdraw.
three. I think it's 3.
I think it's 3.
We're gonna withdraw it.
it more aligns with the language that you've received, and I county, and just let people know, be ready.
You know what you could do? I mean, tell me if this is a bad idea, maybe it is. I'm wondering if in that withdrawal statement, you could say, if you would like to be alerted as soon as this, if and when this is, please let us know. And so, because then we actually have a little bit of a rough email list of
Yes.
people who are especially interested, which could be helpful.
And then, of course, release it as you would originally.
So can I make the motion then?
All that way, but then let people know. 12 o'clock at night, you can notice.
Can I make the motion for 3?
Awesome.
Yeah. With the extra verbiage that we were talking about. It needs to happen. We need to do a motion so we can get this going. So I'm gonna go with motion 3 or option 3. Like
Can
to make
we-
that motion.
Just instead of options say 3, say we should withdraw
We should withdraw
the NOFA
the NOFA.
with an.
Changes.
Yeah.
There you
Yeah, with changes as discussed.
go.
Love it.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Joanna. Give me just. You want to do public comment?
Yeah, anybody have any more comments?
Albert, do you have any thoughts? Those are legal advice.
Nobody.
You have to do some kind of pause or temporary withdrawal. Be ready to respond in a truncated timeline. I definitely think, lawsuit. Really a good thing.
Yeah.
So and hopefully there are actually changes that not gonna hold our breath on that, but, it sounds like you'll be ready for changes if there are hopefully positive changes.
Yeah, the one thing to also consider is if they decide to not release a new NOFA until the end of 2026, like, we need to have as much time. We're gonna run out of money to pay Howard, right? June 30th is, we won't have that for July for 134 households. So how long do we kind of wait until we start putting, like, we have to look at every single household, right? As probably a COC or an ad hoc committee, and just kind of say, here's where they're at. What else do they qualify for? I mean, would that be like February?
What's your notice period for something, some subsidy?
We only have to give a 30-day notice, but that's not what we want to do.
I was just wondering, by statute, what your.
So something, actually, we probably shouldn't discuss that because it's not specific to this.
To this.
Topic. And it's a lot that we can talk about with that I've learned since our meeting.
I know more, because the lawsuit's going, right, instead of hearing the Friday, it's like preliminary injunction to make them stop the process going, so it's gonna be interesting hearing like what the government will say, because they said that we're just doing this temporarily. We are going to be issuing a new one, so I'm sure the court's gonna ask what's going on.
Yeah.
So we might know, we'll have more information, hopefully by Friday or before Friday, to see if they actually make changes before or act. I don't think it'll go that long, but yes, but this year has been.
Marcy Thompson with the National Alliance shared during that webinar that there's at least one PSH project, like nonprofit that's solely funded through this, that their grant renewal is 1/1 and they're shutting their doors at the end of the month.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, this is having real impacts on real people. So, any more public comment? Want me to roll?
Yes, please.
Okay, when I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain to the motion on the table. Faith.
Yes.
Hannah. Yes. Joanne.
Yes.
Joanna.
Yes.
Judy.
Yes.
Priest.
Just left.
Oh. Same. Teresa.
Yes.
Sure you don't want to abstain? Just checking.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to. You
Thanks,
can
Veronica.
You're welcome. Motion approved.
Okay, well. Yeah, in case there's another emergency.
Thank you everyone for coming late last night, was a super fast.
Thank you for not taking.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye, Veronica. Everyone.
I was like,